my name is Katrina, and this is our channel, Our Collective Life. This is a channel about living with dissociative identity disorder and also learning to manage money and talking about our experiences of struggling with money with significant mental health problems. So today's video is mainly about how we have over the years come to terms with living with dissociative identity disorder and managing money. Before I get into how we've managed to live with it, I want to talk a bit more about what DID is and also how we came to be diagnosed. For those who don't know, dissociative identity disorder is a mental health condition mostly developed in is developed in childhood from around the age of 4 to 9 based on traumatic experiences and also disorganized attachment to a caregiver. That is going into the structural dissociation theory. I'm not getting into the conversation regarding plurality or anything like that. This is my experience. Dissociative identity disorder in the DSM-V and on the American Psychiatrist website states that dissociative identity disorder criteria for diagnosis includes the existence of two or more distinct identities. These identities are accompanied by changes in behavior, memory, and thinking. The signs and symptoms may be observed by others or reported by the individual. Ongoing gaps in memories about everyday events, personal information, and or past traumatic events. The symptoms cause significant distress or problems in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. I will attach the website linked in the comments. So, from about the age of 15, 16, I started to realise that my mind wasn't just my mind. I'd been displaying symptoms from a young age. At about 10, I had a complete blackout and apparently acted out in a way that's not me. And often family members and people around me would say I had done things that I had no memory of doing. And when I was 16, the first personality in my system, I prefer the term insiders or alters because it just acknowledges them as real people. The first insider in my system made herself known to me and everybody else. Dream was completely the opposite to me, a lot more expressive, and it's not really my place to talk about it because it's not my story to tell. We try to respect each other's privacy and story. But to understand Dream, I've written a blog post which I'll add in the comments. But from a young age, actually, even younger age, I had an imaginary friend. And he was the most unusual imaginary friend you can imagine. A grown man called James. And he was studious, determined, he looked after me, he guided me, and in a way he became my conscience. And it turns out that he was actually a personality of my system, and even now, all those years, he still continues to have a positive impact in my life. as I began to research more about the condition and understand the role the condition had on me and my alters, my friends, and my family, I started to look for help. And unfortunately, I couldn't find it. Doctors diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder, at one point schizophrenia, and there were negative impacts because I wasn't being heard and being taken seriously. And then 2 years ago, I had a big significant event. My mental health had deteriorated to the point that I just wasn't functioning anymore. And unfortunately, things happened that, I'm still healing from. And in November 2017, I met with a clinical psychologist, told him my story, gave him the number of my friends who he spoke to, and he came to the conclusion that yes, I did have dissociative identity disorder. And it was like, yes, finally, validation. But the help still wasn't there. I was under the care of a care coordinator, CPN nowadays, or whatever they're called, and she still didn't believe the clinical psychologist. And when my alters would come forward, she would ignore them, not talk to them, make them go away, which is not helpful. And it's been a difficult journey. I've had to fight really hard to get where I am now. With the help of my family, my system, the eternal family, we have all come together. I subscribe to structural dissociation, which means that all my alters have always been there from day dot. I believe that everybody is born with a separate sense of self, separate ego states, and it is only through a good childhood and secure attachment to a caregiver will those alters personalities integrate into one, usually about the age of 4 to 9. Integration, if interrupted, means the walls between the alters become reinforced and stronger. And I may have got that wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments. And it's been a very painful, difficult journey, but here I am. And in September 2018, I started to see a private therapist, paying out of my universal credit my personal independence payment, to allow me to start to deal and learn to live with my alters as a family and deal with the trauma that got me to this place in the first place. The reason I started this channel is I struggle with money massively. For all the will in the world, I have tried so much to follow different baby steps, different plans, different things, and often me and my system are not always on the same page. System is the term to describe all the alters together. I have James on one hand trying to establish a budget that encompasses everything, and I'm resisting him, I'm fighting him because I want to go and spend. I'm very impulsive, but I'm getting better. And then I've got alters taking money out of the bank account and going spending it on sweets and art supplies and things I don't even want to talk about. So I started this channel as a way to hold myself accountable and hopefully pass on some tips to other people about how to manage money. I am not perfect. I am going to struggle. We are all going to struggle. But remember, it is possible to budget when you have mental health. Just take it slowly, one step at a time. This is not a race. You're not competing against anyone else but yourself. Anyway, I hope this video answers a couple of questions. I am quite nervous talking about this because being a being open about mental health can be complicated. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.